Dr. T, I know you genius types have a hard time with remembering such menial things, so I'll say it simple like. This is an emergency plug. When you're done with your experiments, return it to the botanical's doorway so that in case of a power outage, we don't all wake up to a pile of dead plants and no oxygen.
like us to stand so you can actually see us, or can we see? Okay. Just making sure.
All right, so as I said before, this is the custom map panel. This panel's purpose is to show you how to create, design, and improve your custom maps, whether they're adventure, puzzle, parkour, or what have you. My name is Blamethecontroller. I'm the creator of Kingdom of the Sky. I also created a rather small survival map called 3 Days.
I'm KupoKupo, and I'm from Boxabox. We made Deep Space Turtle Chase, and I had a part in that. And I'm also introducing my own custom map today that's in development right now. It's a project called Sierra, which is an adventure world rather than an adventure map. So I'd be happy to talk about that later on.
My name is Prof. Snape, and I represent both my brother Kona, who unfortunately could not be here because of school. But we're probably best known for the Minecraft Lost map, which of course was debuted by Chimney, and the guys played it. And and we also created the Sesame Street map with I had Hupquake, who was so generous to help us out with that as well.
Hello everyone, this is Jig. Actually, I promised my channel guys I would say that. My name is actually not Jig, it's jigarbov. And I created the Eronev Mansion Adventure map. Sly Foxhound actually recently played it on his channel, and everybody was really happy about it. So, has anybody here played that map before? Yes, 1, 2. Yay! People played it. That makes me happy. If you haven't played it, I actually spent all of Wednesday upgrading it to release candidate 2. So that should work with version 1, and it's got all the music and all that stuff in there too. So. Check that out after this.
All right, greetings. This is rsmalec. That's kind of how I opened my channel, but you see me filming these guys up here because I'm like one of their biggest fans. On my forum page, I've got probably 170 maps that I've reviewed, and these guys are all up at the top, so you're in good hands today. I myself have created 8 maps that are published. I'm working on a new map. If you've seen my channel, it's called Grinchmas. So it's scheduled to come out by Christmas, and the one that you might be most familiar with is Mars Mission, which the Shaft podcast guys just finished playing on Dead Workers Party, and Sean V. Martin played it on his channel fairly recently as well.
You can clap if you want. Yeah.
All right, so we're pretty much going to go right into questions, and I think maybe I should just run around the room.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe we can use this one.
Yeah, you guys use that one, and I'll use this one. All right, so this gentleman right here, what do you got?
Hey, I go by LegoLad. I've played a couple of y'all's maps, but I'm really kind of curious more, maybe you could start us off by telling us more about what your limitations are when creating a map like this, when you're doing your custom map. What do you run up against in terms of what you can do to a map, what you can't do to a map?
That's an excellent question, and that's one of the biggest things that we all have to deal with. So it's really weird holding this like this. Anyway, whatever. A lot of us, we have to, it takes a long time to make a map, obviously, and working within the limitations of Redstone is one of the biggest things, especially recently. Jen's changed Redstone, which hindered a lot of things on a lot of maps. But then there's people like the Voxabox that actually have developers that develop mods specifically for that. And I think Kupo can talk a bit about that.
Well, the difference is these guys are all working on their own solo, and we are working together as a team. We usually have about 25 to 30 people working on a project. We have dedicated plugin developers, we have people who compose music, people who do sound effects, people who do writing specifically for it. If you play through the STC, if you notice, we do have custom music that pops up in certain events that are triggered. We have a new way of actually going through the map. Instead of having to use signs, what we've done is we've used the maps, the map files, and we each have a custom JPEG, I think, that's put onto each one so that you can follow along and you can get transmissions from, your higher up orders whenever you're playing through the game. It's a different way of doing a map, though. I mean, whenever you work with somebody, I mean, there's such a talented community of developers out there for plugins and everything. It would be really nice to see more group efforts like that. I'd like to see what people can do, because I don't know if there's enough that pushes the limits, but it's always nice to see something new in each map.
One of the biggest things I think is difficult when trying to tell story in a Minecraft map is the fact that you have fairly significant limitations. You can just use little signs, which is kind of the go-to thing, what a lot of people do. Or you can include text files. Maps like Deep Space Turtle Chase included mods that allow you to listen to audio, and that greatly enhances the storytelling experience. So that's a way of circumventing the limitations of storytelling within Minecraft. I personally created a string of YouTube videos, so rather than using text files, a person simply alt-tabs to YouTube, and then there's a whole playlist, and when you get to a certain location, rather than saying read note 2, it says watch video 2. And then there's a complete narration done by myself in rather bad voices. And it tells you the story, and I think that's just a much better way to immerse the player. Also, Ron actually did this way back before it was cool, but he included audio files with the actual download of the map itself. So, anybody else want to speak, or you want to go to the next?
I just want to mention one thing, just because of the size of the Lost map. I don't know if you're familiar with the show. There's a lot of theories on how big the island is, what the actual shape of the island is. And I remember when we first started, we included a map file, if you downloaded the map, of an overhead shot of the entire map. Hopefully you can see at least part of this, but this is generally the shape that we generally theorize and hypothesize that this is probably what it looked like. And a lot of the landscape went into it. That was probably the hardest part for us, is just physically trying to do that. I mean, if you start a map, you're in a random, most of the time, a random world, and you have to make sure that you can actually control the hills, where the water is, and we did so much of that just before we even started placing things like the stations, the plane, and of course it takes a little bit of luck, because we were very fortunate that our seed actually had the bottom of the Lost Island where the plane crash landed. And that was very fortunate, because if it did not have that, we would have no place to start. So I definitely say, like, some challenges with starting a map, for us especially with that project. It was making sure that we had control over the physics, the geography, the topography, I guess.
I actually have a cheat.
Sorry, I just wanted to say one more thing about, you can still as well, because mod sometimes creates a barrier with what people can download, but you can still work within the Minecraft engine itself, but cheat a little with programs like MC Edit and InvEdit and stuff like that. So with MC Edit, for example, you can lay an entire roller coaster and remove the blocks from under it. And as long as no block updates happen around the minecart, that whole thing is floating. I haven't seen that happen in a map yet, and I think that would be a really good idea. So anybody listening making a map, you should do that.
I'll do it.
So how many map makers or prospective map makers do we have? All right, awesome. So I guess I've definitely faced all of those things, but I would say the hardest thing, and maybe the best advice, is know what you're good at. If you're good at redstone, if you're good at story, if you're good at building a giant statue, stick with that for your first map. Put something out there that pleases you and your close group of friends, and then experiment with the other things, play other maps, and see what other people have done, and then you can expand your boundaries. Don't try to take on everything at once. I would say for my Mars mission map, my original project plan had like 300 hours worth of work in there, and these, grand things that just weren't going to come together in the end. So cutting something out and just letting yourself cut it out so that you can get a good product out there may be the hardest personal thing, but if you know your strengths, play to those, you'll get a better return over the long term.
Any more questions? I hope so, because that was only the first one.
Yeah, we're actually gonna have to speed this up a bit, otherwise we'll only get through 2 questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
For any of the developers, do you have any any tips or advice for creating Minecraft structures that assimilate very realistic structure tendencies, including circles, D shapes, L shapes, and assorted other things that I have seen on many maps?
Right, design, that's definitely my field here. When you design something, you can't think within how it's going to look in Minecraft. You can't make the perfect circle, you can't make the perfect 90-degree angle. Whenever you're walking down a road in a city or something like that, you want something that's going to make you want to turn the corner. You don't want symmetry or the same type of build repeating over and over again. You want to make it as immersive as possible. So my best advice for that is to just build and don't think about, having to align 3 blocks this side, 3 blocks that side. It's fine to have mistakes. I mean, you don't want everything to be perfect, like I said. And also, don't think in terms of just building on, the 90-degree angle. In my project, Sierra, what we have is a 119-room castle. It's built completely on a 30-degree angle. It's, all fully furnished, customized. What we did is, to get something like that, we went and we actually researched what a castle needs to have. We went down to the terms of a butlery, a special room just for the butlers, and furnished it exactly how we would have to do something like that. It's all the little details and everything that you can include in the room and in the main structure itself that really make it come alive and just work.
Okay, next question. Lucia.
Do you guys have any opinions on Vex maps? Vex super hostiles?
So I've actually played Canopy of Carnage and one other one, I can't remember what it is, but it's got a lot of lava in it. And I do enjoy playing it, so just my personal opinion is, after you're on any survival map and you've survived for X period of time, there's not much else to do. I know in those, there's a lot of create the monument things to do as well. I like to have a storyline throughout my map, but if you're looking for a survival map, if you're looking for one that has this amazing, beautiful structures, the Vex series is definitely a good bet.
They're also incredibly hard.
Next up,
So we talked about the limitations that you guys have as developers, but how do you place limitations on the players? Like, how do you make it to where they don't go off in some random tangent? How do you make it to where they do what you want them to do?
well, you could do what I did, which was delete the vast majority of the map. In Kingdom of the Sky, in the trailer, you may have noticed that it's all floating islands. One of my first thoughts was, how do I prevent a player from roaming where I don't want him to go? Well, I removed all the land. And I was going to put water underneath, but then I thought, well, they could jump off and they might survive, so I just literally deleted everything so it goes all the way down to the void. So if you fall off one of my islands, it's insta-death. Other ways you can do it is significantly restrict when you give a player something like a redstone torch or a lever. Because when you give those tools, you're allowing people to use them in manners that they're not supposed to in some cases. So you may intend for them to take this torch and use it on that door, but they may go back and do it on something else, and you don't want to do that. So my personal philosophy is, don't give the players torches or levers or buttons or pressure pads or anything like that if you can absolutely avoid it. Never give them redstone dust, because you're just asking for trouble at that point. But other ways, like in the sequel to Kingdom of the Sky, I have very large mountains that are going to obscure your view. And I'm going to give you a little secret. There's a way that you can alter, if you include a custom texture pack with your map, you can make certain blocks invisible, and then you can create an invisible bedrock wall all around your map, so they cannot go where you do not want them to go.
A little note on Redstone. the people that have played my map obviously know that redstone is a pretty big part, and we do give you redstone because I trust you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rules, especially in regards to the redstone, and people that break them generally get lost and the map is ruined. But the people that do it correctly have a hell of a time. Another thing about borders is as long as you have a 2-block high border all the way around your map, and it's pretty thick, because I've noticed if you just put 2 blocks high but then nothing behind it, they'll cheat. They'll break the blocks and have a look what's beyond it. So if you fill it out at least, then it's good. But parkour also sucks to get out of maps, like sprint over the trees.
All right, next question. Diana Black.
How much interaction have you had with Mojang about the things that you've been working on and maybe asking for stuff in the future? And how's that working out?
So I think Mojang obviously has a large group of people that they're trying to answer. Personally, I've had experience where I've seen Jeb Twitter some change that's coming in a release, and I've said, well, what do you mean fences are going to attach to blocks? That's going to make, standing light posts suddenly look strange in maps. And he's responded. So if they see your Twitters, if they, get your emails, they will respond. They'll consider what's in maps. But hopefully, being here today and actually being part of this experience, obviously we've got big maps out there like Deep Space Turtle Chase, that maps are now getting more recognition, that they might think about how our adventures are laid out when they, introduce changes to the game. So, for instance, probably the thing I've been asking for most is being able to write on paper and give your players notes so they don't have to all tab out to text files. But I mean, just them giving us this sandbox as it is like pretty much a dream come true for custom development in games.
All right.
Yes, as far as specific, like congratulations on that map, very little. Even on the forum thread, yeah. Not just my map. But even on the forum, there's very little in the way of here's a really good map. I mean, there's a lot of here's a really good video, but not a lot of here's a really good map, and that's unfortunate. I think the fact that this room is the fullest out of the other panels going on right now is a good testament to how much custom maps mean to everybody, and I really think if they see this, maybe something will change.
Let's face it, after you've mined your 348th diamond, do you really want to go back and get another one? There has to be some sort of end game, and although they did include things like the Ender Dragon and what have you, we think including our stories does give you a lot more to your Minecraft experience. I'm going to start grabbing some from the back. Sorry, guys.
Two questions. First, were you responsible for this? Blamethecontroller. All right. And two, order of operations. How do you prevent a player from going to one place and it's like, who's Gerald? And then you go to this house, it's like, well, I was supposed to go here first.
I guess the question is pacing, or
No, I think he's more asking what was asked previous, which is how do you prevent people from going where they're not supposed to go? You can make walls and what have you, and don't give them redstone tools to get where you want them. And also make sure that when you are creating walls or barriers, that they're high enough where players can't go over.
there's also what you can do in Eronev, for example. There's you get given tools at specific points during the map. So at the very beginning, you have no tools. You're not allowed to break any blocks. When you first find the pickaxe and you're allowed to mine cobblestone, everybody freaks out because they can go back to the entire map and look at all those places where they thought there was something, break those blocks, dig in behind and find, you know, whole new areas, new quests and whatever. And then you can keep giving that, like the carrot on a stick. Like, has anybody played Zelda before? Yeah. that sort of thing. It really is a good way of limiting where people can go and then giving them something else to do when they get there.
So while you're looking for a next question, I'll just say one good thing or one big part of map making is once you're done making the map is testing it. So get a group of friends, get a group of confidants that will play your map and try to break it in the ways that you described.
Do we have any design or build questions? Keep your hand up if it's design or build.
I'm wondering, what would you suggest if you're trying to build a portal map? Like, tricks? Like, say I'm using the mod for the portal gun. What kind of puzzles would you suggest? Besides just the everyday? Because, I mean, I see so many different maps that are just the enrichment center over and over again.
Well, a portal map is more like, of course it's going to have the enrichment center and it's a portal map. Has anybody played Portal before? Raise it, of course. It's an excellent game. I mean, it's a redundant question. And because of that, there's a lot of portal maps. The main thing you need to worry about with portal maps is because you can go pretty much anywhere all the time in the confines of that room. You have to make sure you design the puzzles perfectly. And it has to be perfectly, because if you have one puzzle where you can sort of see the corner of a block if you lean up against a certain wall, then people are going to put a portal there and they're going to wreck the whole thing and going to go out of sequence. The best way to do that is make sure you have a lot of testers before the map gets released. Don't release it and then, you know, you're going to have 1,000 angry people saying, you know, your map's broken because they went away which you didn't think of before.
All right, let's come back here.
How would you make the design more interesting to the player's eye so they'll keep wanting to play?
Well, like I answered earlier, a lot of the design factors that I like to integrate are, you know, really immersing you into the surroundings. Like, say for instance, somebody used my project as an example, Circa. We have the castle that I talked about briefly before, and we also have around that a surrounding city. But inside the city, it follows the same guidelines that the castle would. Everything is built on odd angles, 30, 40-degree angles, and everything is irregular. What you have whenever you have something like that is people walk through the streets, you know, they look at the little alleyways, they look at the parks and things like that. You have to include all these small details to really immerse people in. Even if you're not going to use something as a building in your adventure map, if you include something like, just to make your city feel a little bit more alive. So over here, this has nothing to do with, you know, what you're doing, but we have Pepito Pietro's hair salon or something silly like that. You go in, you can see a couple silly signs or a couple extra things that just help add to the game. So, you know, you're giving your players something more than just one objective to follow through and have to go through all the time.
Yeah, I definitely agree about the extra details and making them, of course, want to continue to play. Our map is basically driven by Lost, so if you're familiar with the show, you kind of have an idea of where everything is, what the actual things are, and we've thrown in like a ton of Easter eggs that aren't even mentioned in the playthrough files. Again, things like the radio tower, the extra blue buses, again, those are Lost references if you're familiar with that. Sorry? I think that's really important to add, like little tiny things just for people who kind of like understand or are really invested in the map. It makes them feel special, I think. I know that when I played other maps, when I found, for example, on the Mars Mission one, finding people's names, the fact that my name was actually in the map, I thought it was great. Because I was like, oh, I made it, you know? But I think, again, like adding those extra details, even though they're not in the actual storyline or something, I think they're absolutely necessary if you want the players to, I think, continue in a long type of map.
Like this guy's been waiting a while.
Where do you find the ideas for your adventure maps?
Lost.
So I actually have a 9-year-old son, and most of the ideas for the maps that I've made come from things that he's liked. So Mars Mission was a Lego set. He likes Garfield, so I made a Garfield map. And I think find something in your own life, like if your favorite thing is Kirby or if your favorite thing is Super Mario, whatever it is, try to make a map about that.
Unless you have a really good imagination and you just come up with one. I don't.
I do. I love writing. I love just working in general, going really into depth of what I can do in terms of a map. Like I said before, mine's not an adventure map that I'm making. Mine's an adventure world. What I'm doing is creating something that is similar to an MMO-style gameplay, so that players really have something to immerse themselves in rather than just one single linear objective. We want people to explore the world and shape their own experiences they want to do. But I'm the design part of that. I don't handle the plugins part of it, so we have to see what limitations we're going to have whenever it comes to something like that.
For me personally, a very, very, very long time ago when I was a kid, I wanted to design video games, and that unfortunately isn't my career path. My current career is a little bit more boring. But I have a lot of stories and stuff that I wanted to tell, and Minecraft custom maps give me the opportunity to tell some of those stories. It may not be exactly what I originally envisioned, but I'm pretty happy with it. So we're going to go over here. Get you next, I promise.
How do you keep like a compact redstone design? Because on Deep-Based Turtle Chase, the piston doors, it's all compact, and redstone can take up a lot of space.
Like I said, whenever we do our maps, we assign people to work on specific things. We have people that specifically do redstone and only redstone. So I unfortunately can't tell you because I don't even know how to make a door open with redstone, and I apologize for that.
A really excellent way of doing it is digging a hole and putting all your redstone in it, and then putting a plug on the hole so no one ever goes down there. In Eronev, there's a massive crater under the mansion that is just completely filled with redstone and tracks going everywhere. And you know, it's just easy. You just hide it behind stuff where the player isn't going to go. Underground, in a room, close the windows off. People go, "Oh, what's that room?" Doesn't matter. You don't get to go in there, and it's filled with redstone. And now the lights are off.
Did we forget to pay the power bill?
Not again.
As far as the redstone goes, redstone is essentially a computer language, and it takes a significant amount of skill to be an expert in it. I don't claim to be an expert in redstone. However, there are numerous tutorials on YouTube that you can watch, and they'll teach you how to make rsmalec and all that good stuff. And
YouTube.com/jigarbov.
Well, if you want to learn a good way, don't go over that. But anyways, YouTube, Redstone, you'll find tons and tons of stuff. They'll teach you how to make all the different stuff in the most compact manner. And I promise this guy.
Have you ever seen the Shadow Lizardfell maps? Have you ever watched those yet?
Once or twice.
Well, the maps I've seen, and they're huge. There's like a giant map with so many buildings in it. I'm just wondering how I can cram all of that space into one map without getting all my memory used up.
The short answer is you use up all the memory. And the thing about the Shadow Lizardfell, it's on a server where all these people are building it together, and then everybody connects to it. So you're never actually downloading a map for use for yourself. Shadows of Lizardfell, I don't think they're going to release it anytime soon as a standalone map. That'd be awesome if they are, though.
They have their community server.
All right, next question. Come over here.
Hey, do we want to ask specific to certain panel members?
Real quick, a nuts and bolts question. I've been doing a lot of stuff in world and kind of, I only play on survival servers and do all of my stuff for my friends there. What are the tools that you use, kind of your go-to tools to get things done, especially with your making big, large maps and whatnot?
There's a whole bunch. MC Edit is a really easy one. It's a standalone product. Also, inventory edit if you're changing your inventory, or just change it to creative mode. It's pretty easy now. You just change it to creative, and then you can build whatever you want. And there's also the voxel tools.
Like I said, we have it included on the bucket forum. There's a whole voxel suite of plugins, but in creating the world itself, I start from bedrock whenever I want to make something, and I just build everything completely with Sniper. Well, the world itself, the landscape. I don't use a seed for any of my things because I want things to be shaped exactly as how I want them to be seen.
Yeah, I currently live and die by world edit. I was telling someone else in line that it's gotten so bad that I actually don't know how to craft a lot of basic things because I just type / whatever I want, or things like that. I use the compass a lot because it allows me to jump to a certain spot a lot faster than flying. And I oftentimes, when we do like individual builds, not necessarily like a map, but an individual part, my go-to substance is always, and probably will always be wood, because of the shadows that it creates and helps me like see like curves and shapes, and then I'll go back and replace it to whatever material that I want. So from wood to a certain colored wool to stones or whatever it is that I want. That's my go-to 3 things that I must have.
All right, I was just going to say some other mods to keep in mind are Too Many Items, which is really good, and Zomb. I use Zomb constantly. It lets you fly in survival. I prefer to make my maps in survival as opposed to creative mode. I just like the interface a little bit better. Also, Zomb allows you to no-clip, and I use no-clipping constantly. And what that does is it lets you pass through objects, so you can actually see. You can get a different view when you're actually inside the wall. It just helps a lot. So, Ron, anything else?
I was just going to say, I use the world edit if I'm trying to work at a terrain level or a mountain. And when I want to build the storyline parts of my map, I'll use single player commands, comes with world edit, because I like to build from in the path that the player is going to take. So, my next thing on my to-do list after the game comes out is to try the VoxelBox tools, but I'll probably use them all in different situations.
All right, next question. I'm going to go to the back again.
You mentioned earlier that using MC Edit you can use minecart tracks and you can delete the blocks under them. And the tracks won't be deleted. Can you do the same with sand, so it's floating in the air?
Yes, sand, gravel, water, lava, and blocks that function with an update like rail tracks and ladders and whatnot. You can put any of them anywhere you want using MC Edit. So you can have, like in my map, I have these giant floating lava spheres. As long as nothing near them updates, it will stay like that forever. Next question.
When making the map, do you prefer for it to be a linear story or with side quests? And also, what is your view on the Skyblock survival map?
So I'll take it. Most of my maps are linear, but outside of the main path that the player can take, you can go off the track, within eyesight and find some other hidden thing. Like my Fear and a Handful of Dust map has 13 main story chapters, but if you go off to the side, there's something like 45 random things you can find. So I kind of do a mix of both.
I really like branching adventure maps. So you start off in an area, learn the general structure or rules and stuff like that, and then go to somewhere where all of a sudden there's 4 or 5 different paths you can take, all eventually converging on the one different area. Even though you saw in Eronev there's the parkour side mission, I'm not very good at parkour myself, and that was really hard to make because testing it myself, I just kept falling. And then I released it and they're like, it's too easy. So I had to make it significantly harder after that. I can't even beat it.
Right, so the Skyblock Survival Series for me, there's different types of games for different people. Personally, for me, crafting things just to get an achievement doesn't do anything for me. I prefer to have, a situation where you can shape your own experiences. That's why I definitely prefer a more free-roaming type of game as I've started designing.
I personally just prefer story-based. I will say one thing, and I'm sure most of the people up here agree with me. Skyblock was the first map to get a digital diamond, and I think it brought a lot of attention to the map-making community. We're very happy on that. So, next question.
Okay, I don't know if you guys played the Fallen Rose adventure map, but basically they have a online server that is also, it's almost like an online adventure server. Do any of you guys have plans of doing that? And also, what's in this for you? Why do you guys enjoy making adventure maps?
Well, we offer multiplayer experience for up to 4 people. If you can just set up your server, we have all the information for the STC to do something like that. I mean, certainly something like my world that I'm making, that definitely is something that has to be played online. And I'm not actually sure how it could be released publicly because, it's going to be such a huge file, just in terms of size of how many things we're building out there. What was the first part of your question again? I'm sorry.
Oh, what's in it for you guys? Why do you like making it?
Minecraft is just pure sandbox for me. I'm a designer. I love to design things. I just find enjoyment. I have more enjoyment designing the things than I actually do playing them.
Yeah, just to touch upon why we're doing this. My brother and I set out because a challenge was posted on one of the forums. It said that no one could ever make the Lost Island. And anyone who did make it would be paid like 80 pounds or something like that. So we took that as a really big challenge and we spent 4 weeks on it. And we worked all the time. And I'm so thankful to have a brother who likes to play the games that I play. And I think that's really what makes it interesting for me is that we're always working together. Whether it's maps or build challenges or anything like that, like it's really that camaraderie that I feel like I'm very lucky to be able to share. And we also make maps to appease the fans. I mean, I think it's so important, People always drop me, oh, what about this idea? What about that idea? And we put that on the to-do list, and one day we might hit it. And again, hopefully, I just really want to make the people who either tell me, oh, it'd be great if you made this map. I just want to make those people happy first. If bigger guys play it, like all these famous people, if they play the map, that's excellent. But I'm not really making the map for them. I'm making the map for the people that I know. I'm making it for my brother, and I think that's helped us a lot in not getting distracted.
Why we make maps is a question like asking why do people play Minecraft. It's a way to craft and create whatever you want, and that's what Minecraft is. And we just like creating experiences, builds, stories, all of those things. Everything that Minecraft is can be brought together in a custom map, and these are experiences that people won't forget.
Yeah, so I make the maps mainly for myself and then my friends and my family, but if you do watch a Let's Play of someone playing your map, and they come around the corner and they go, whoa, and that's like what you were hoping that one person would come around the corner and say, whoa, like just that personal feeling of amazement, like accomplishment, it gives me goosebumps. In fact, I've got goosebumps now just saying that out loud. So that's what I get out of it, goosebumps.
I personally I like to tell the stories that I've had for forever, and now I get the chance to. And like Ron said, when you watch someone play a Let's Play and they're genuinely enjoying your map and they're having a great time and they love it, that is a great feeling. We have 10 minutes left, so we're going to have to start lightning rounding these in the back a bit.
So I just wanted to ask about spatial planning. How do you plan out
the broad strokes of your maps before filling them in?
I'm just gonna say I'm bad at that because I always envision like this size of a room with all kinds of stuff happening, and then I start building it and I end up building too fine of details. But you may have something to say about that.
For my own maps, I just go with whatever I think is necessary. I don't put limits on myself. I do a lot of planning beforehand. I draw out my plans like to the greatest extent that I can. I have a pure city build marked out, mapped out, road names, everything. I go down to the very last detail just so I know where things are going to go, how many houses I'm going to have in this row, streets, and things like that.
All right, next.
What is the most effective way to build something underwater?
Yeah, so if you're familiar with Lost, one of the stations is actually underwater, the entire thing. And we didn't know how to do that because of the air situation. And so we were trying everything. We were gonna build it by hand down there and hope that it would be blocked off and things like that. What we ended up doing was we just actually built it on the shore, right on that actual beach. And it was just through copy and pasting it right down into the water. And the tricky part of that was, unfortunately, the first time I did it, I nearly broke the server that we were on because I selected way too many blocks. And then in the ocean, it copied pasted all of those blocks, and it created this really weird waterfall out of nothing. And just you have to be careful, I guess, when you're working underwater.
Or just MC edit out the water, build it by hand. Or in creative mode, you can live forever. So just go in creative mode and go down there and build it.
All right, next.
How would you say to make like really good NPCs, like people in the game that you would actually talk to, sort of?
In Eronev Mansion Adventure, actually, there's a lot of NPCs. Most of them just have signs next to them, and they're kind of static, but they reference the player and what you're doing. For example, the first one says hi because you just arrived to the town, so he says hello, and he welcomes you to the village, welcome back, and he gives you the first part of the quest. Another really cool thing you can do with NPCs is have some sort of a text array, and I haven't seen anyone else do it before me, but I created it. Basically, you put the signs on sand, and you have pistons underneath the sand, and when you talk to the NPC the first time, he will give you a challenge, and you go out, complete that challenge. When you actually complete that challenge, Redstone will trigger, send a signal all the way back to that NPC with the dialog box, and it will pull the pistons back. The sand will fall, and you will see a new set of signs behind that. So when you get back to that NPC, you have completed his challenge, and then he gives you a new challenge or something like that. And I think dynamic NPCs will be a really good thing for Mojang to implement, so we don't have to work around it like that, but there are certainly ways like that.
All right, we got time for one, maybe two more.
I just got here, but what are some of the famous custom maps that you've done in the past?
That we've created or that we've played? That we've created. So Deep Space Turtle Chase, Kupo down at the end, the Lost Map, Eronev Mansion Adventure, Mars Mission, and Kingdom of Sky. Those are the...
Next. Anybody over here?
Mine is more a suggestion than an actual question about the building underwater. If you create a shell for what you want to build and fill it with sand or dirt or something easy to take out and come in from underneath, it works very much like a beaver's dam. You're not going to have water spilling in because it can only go 8 blocks and it tapers off. And the physics of the blocks won't let the water fill it up. So if you create the shell first and then hollow it out from the inside, just make sure your outside blocks are the ones you want them to be.
I had a question about the mansion map. I forgot what the beginning of it was, but how did you make it so you could have different endings?
So the way that works is another redstone trigger. You have in the quest there's spoilers, 8 NPCs that you have to save, and you go to each of those places, and when you save one of the NPCs, it will send a signal back to, I call it the brain. It's basically a conditional rsmalec, although recently I changed it to a piston counter. Basically, it's a counter that counts how many NPCs you save. So you don't have to save them in order, and you don't have to do anything like that. As soon as you save one, it sends a signal back and says, you've saved one, and it will only trigger once. So there's 8 in total. The first change triggers at 3, and then there's another change at 7, and then there's another one that triggers completely different. Basically, once the redstones is lit up, it sends another signal to a train station, and it just will send you to a different track. So there's actually like 4 different complete copies of that area in different areas, and you just go to it on the train track.
All right, we got enough time for some last words, so.
I guess the last words were something I mentioned earlier. If you're interested in making a map, put it out there. Don't expect that the Yogscast is going to play your map. Don't expect that people are going to like your map. Put it out there for yourself. Take the feedback that you get, and then build another map, and then build another map. And eventually, somebody's going to come across your map, somebody that's here today walking around, and you'll get the recognition. If you do make the map, Blamethecontroller has a post on the forum pin that he lists maps. I do reviews, so you can put them out on our forums and tell us, hey, we saw you at Minecon, and we'll help you get your map out there and promote it as well.
Final words. I'm just really happy that so many people showed up. I mean, I hoped it would be a full house. I did not expect people coming in, sitting on the floors, lining the walls. And again, I think it's a testament that I think custom maps are a really big, important thing. And that was 30 minutes before this even started. People, the staff were sending people away. And I think, custom maps are here to stay, and we hope to keep making them so you keep playing them.
Yeah, again. So yeah, I just want to reiterate, thank you guys for being here and having that interest in these types of maps. Just I guess some last words, good luck, look at inspiration. If you do happen to spot me though, I am looking for dozens of people to do 1-hour build challenges. That's sort of my specialty, besides the map stuff. So if you're interested, just pull me aside and just say, hey Snape, you want to do a build? I got my laptop, we can go at it. And I just love to see what you guys can do. I love seeing what I can do and what I can challenge myself in an hour. But again, really thank you guys so much from both myself and my brother, KupoKupo, as well.
If you guys have any specific questions, I can come answer them. Just come meet me. I'll be walking around all day.
All right, thank you everybody for coming. We really appreciate it. And again, if anybody wants some of the free stickers, just come and see me. I got tons of them.
I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to be, but I really like
Are you guys looking to do build challenges?
No, I just have a point of view.
Yeah, please.
Have you heard of BlameTC?
I have not.
It's a program that connects people that allows you to create maps.